Yes, Charleston White is correct. I'm a rapper, not a dealer. Be sure to catch my new show, 50 Cent, 50 Ways to Catch It.
See that Meech Home concert got the streets talking. The biggest Meech Home, the streets back, that's what I'm talking about. That's how real niggas come home and get it down. 50, who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better. I will buy your master.
50 Cent didn't hold back when he mocked Big Meech after rumors surfaced that Rick Ross may have misled him about a supposed $120 million deal. Ross had been hyping up major film projects, large-scale collaborations, and even hinted at turning Meech into a Hollywood powerhouse. But in the end, none of it ever happened. Now, Meech is being portrayed as financially struggling, while 50 continues to joke about him across the industry. Fans are even stirring the pot, saying the only way to settle this is in a boxing ring. Big Meech versus 50 Cent. Can you imagine that? It would be the headline of the year. But before we get carried away, let's rewind and understand how this situation even began. After Big Meech made efforts to leave his past behind and build a new image, he believed a major comeback was within reach. That's when Rick Ross stepped in, making bold claims and grand offers. He pitched $120 million movie deals, documentaries, and other massive opportunities. Ross painted a picture so big, it sounded like Meech was about to land a Marvel-level contract. In fact, Ross went public with these promises, loudly and confidently. He wasn't subtle. He spoke like the deals were already signed. On the surface, it looked like Meech was finally going to benefit from the legacy he built. But in reality, nothing ever materialized. Ross didn't follow through on a single commitment. Instead, it seems he used Meech's reputation as leverage, more to show off in front of 50 Cent than to truly support Meech's future.
I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino. It's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it.
His longtime rival, who's never hesitated to fire back, kept his stance firm. While Rick Ross was busy making big promises and chasing attention, 50 Cent was actually investing real money. He funded the BMF series, covered Lil Meech's acting, lessons, and gave him a platform to grow. That's documented. Ross, on the other hand, was all smoke and mirrors, and it wasn't just 50 making these claims. People close to him confirmed it as well. Tony Yayo even explained the full picture, showing who truly supported the movement. Now, word going around is that Big Meech is genuinely upset, low on funds, and coming to terms with the idea that Rick Ross may have only connected with him to take subtle digs at 50. That's what hurts most. Instead of making a strong comeback, Meech is now being seen as just another piece in someone else's strategy, but those empty promises were just the beginning. Things escalated when Meech's own son got involved. Lil Meech was seen on video at a club, casually hanging out with Ross. And that's when the situation really began to spiral. Just days before, leaked messages supposedly showed Lil Meech saying F Ross Ross. Then suddenly, he's spotted right next to him like nothing happened. Fans were left puzzled. The streets lit up with confusion. People wanted answers. The video went viral almost instantly. Cameras flashing, the room glowing red. And there stood Lil Meech and Rick Ross shoulder to shoulder. They were leaning in close, whispering to each other, smiling for photos like longtime friends, all while the world looked on. It felt like a twist no one saw coming, and it left fans completely confused. Naturally, 50 Cent wasn't going to stay quiet about it. He jumped online and fired off one of his signature trolling jabs. He joked that Ross told Lil Meech to pass along his dad's address so he could send over some wings from Wingstop. But that Wingstop line wasn't just a casual joke, it was a subtle shot. 50 was implying that Ross wasn't helping Meech grow anything meaningful, he was just offering crumbs, like fries on the side. And if that seemed sharp, what came next really got people talking. Out of nowhere, 50 posted, and later deleted, a serious claim that he personally had to step in and send Lil Meech to rehab.
February 13th, the Big Meech Home benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done. Me performing BMF with the icon himself. This shit gonna be special. Epic. Get your tickets right now.
According to 50, Meech was showing up on the BMF set completely out of it. So much so, he allegedly vomited during a weapons training session. Later, when his vehicle was searched, they reportedly found whippets hidden inside. 50 even said he just had no idea what whippets were until he had to look them up online. He positioned himself as the one taking responsibility, stepping in to keep Lil Meech from going off the rails, especially while, in his view, Meech's own father was supporting some of the same risky behaviors. And this wasn't just internet drama. Lil Meech had already made headlines for getting arrested at an airport. That alone suggested how much chaos he might have been dealing with. So once 50 made all of this public, the conversation shifted, with many wondering if 50 had actually been the one to keep Lil Meech's career from completely falling apart. But then came the real twist. People couldn't wrap their heads around why. After everything, Meech appeared to align himself with Ross instead of showing appreciation to 50. That's when another voice entered the conversation and made things even messier. Michael Rainey Jr., known to most as Tariq from Power, chimed in. During a live session, when a fan asked if he felt sorry for Lil Meech, he didn't hold back. That clip of Michael speaking bluntly spread quickly. And who jumped in to repost it with a laugh? None other than 50 Cent. He backed it, fully even echoing Michael's words in his own caption. It wasn't just a repost, it was a public show of support, reinforcing the idea that 50 saw Lil Meech as soft and not cut out for the pressure. The timing couldn't have been worse for Meech. It gave the impression that he was losing respect, not just from the public, but also from those closely tied to 50's circle. But the friction didn't start there. This tension had been building since Big Meech's so-called Welcome Back concert. When Meech was released, many expected a massive event, a major celebration featuring top rap names. It was promoted as a moment that would go down in history. Yet instead of centering 50 Cent, the one who turned his life story into a TV phenomenon, Meech leaned on Rick Ross to help promote the show. There's even footage of Ross hyping it up as if it were going to be an iconic comeback. But that move backfired. The concert never took place. Promoters backed out, the excitement faded, and the entire event fell apart. For 50, that was the breaking point. He saw it as blatant disrespect. After everything he had done for the BMF series and for helping launch Lil Meech's career, being overlooked in favor of Ross was a step too far. That's when 50 Cent went cold, accusing Meech of making quiet deals with the feds and publicly calling him out across social media. What made things even worse was Meech teaming up with Ross, a move that intensified the backlash significantly. To many, it looked like Meech had exchanged loyalty for attention, and 50 was quick to solidify that perception with a steady stream of trolling posts. Instead of being remembered as a powerful return, that so-called concert became the moment things shifted. Support for Big Meech started to fade. The narrative changed overnight, and suddenly Meech didn't look like a leader, reclaiming his place. He looked like someone mismanaging the legacy he built.
I'm gonna address this, because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me.
And that's when Meech finally chose to respond. Out of nowhere, Meech posted an old photo of himself standing next to 50, but added one major twist. He placed a large rat emoji right over 50's face. There was no subtlety there. It was a direct accusation, essentially calling 50 a snitch, and he didn't stop there. In the caption, Meech doubled down, calling 50 an internet gangster. In other words, he accused 50 of doing nothing but hiding behind his phone, stirring drama online instead of engaging directly. Naturally, Ross joined in without hesitation. He immediately mocked 50 for being upset about the new alliance forming between him and Meech.
I took a picture with Rick Ross. Put your back against the wall and just slide.
Fans quickly saw it as a coordinated move. Ross co-signing Meech seemed like an intentional jab, provoking 50 even more. The trolling turned into a public show, with Ross hyping up Meech as if he had just added him to an anti-50 squad. Then came the viral clip. Ross openly mocked 50, laughing at how bothered he seemed about Meech standing beside him. He made it clear that this wasn't just a friendly hangout, it was a united front against a shared rival. Still, the irony was hard to ignore. 50 Cent was the one who had actually invested in Lil Meech, giving him acting lessons, television roles, and consistent paychecks. Ross, on the other hand, had mainly offered public appearances and lofty promises that never materialized.
Bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the f I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright. Oh, ass.
Yet somehow, Meech appeared more enthusiastic about siding with Ross than standing by the person who helped launch his career. That unexpected shift left fans puzzled, and it sparked the next big rumor that Meech genuinely wanted to fight 50 Cent. After the post with the rat emoji and Ross's follow-up trolling, the internet went wild, fueling rumors of a possible celebrity boxing match between 50 Cent and Big Meech himself. Some fans found it entertaining, while others saw it as disappointing. A man once known for his street reputation now being talked about like a reality TV storyline, boxing for attention. But it wasn't just the memes that sparked the rumor. It was Meech's own words. When asked if he'd ever retaliate against 50, he hinted, even if only half joking, that he'd be willing to step into the ring. That small comment was enough. Social media took it and ran. And once the blogs picked up on the boxing angle, the story spread rapidly. Before long, people were discussing ticket sales, pay-per-view projections, and debating who would win if the fight ever happened. But right when the boxing talk reached its peak, Whack 100 entered the conversation, and that's when the entire situation took a serious turn. Whack claimed this wasn't just a dispute about loyalty or Rick Ross, it was about deeper, hidden truths. According to him, a close associate of Meech's, Tammy Cowan, had once told 50 Cent directly that Meech had cooperated with federal authorities in other street-related cases. That statement hit hard. If true, it meant the conflict wasn't just internet drama. It was centered around a secret that could change how Big Meech is remembered. Whack 100 didn't hold back either. He repeated the claim, saying that Tammy, someone deeply connected to Meech, had shared this information with 50 firsthand. For someone with Meech's legacy, those kinds of allegations carry serious weight, and the timing of Whack's comments made the situation even more intense. Just as Meech was already facing heavy criticism online, being labeled broke, mocked over the failed concert, and questioned for aligning with Ross, another issue started making rounds. Whispers about possible cooperation with federal authorities. In the streets, that kind of rumor carries serious weight. Once that idea takes hold, it's nearly impossible to shake off. Suddenly, the focus shifted. It wasn't just about boxing rumors or social media posts anymore. People began questioning whether Meech's entire image had been built on something false. At this point, 50 Cent didn't even need to say much. The internet took over. Memes spread quickly, old interviews resurfaced, and some even suggested Meech's calm stance toward Ross might be tied to keeping certain individuals quiet. For someone once seen as a symbol of loyalty and silence, even the hint of cooperation with authorities was enough to create doubt. And as expected, Ross weighed in again, spinning the narrative that 50 was just bitter and trying to destroy Meech's reputation. But for fans paying closer attention, the conversation had gone beyond trolling. It felt like real cracks were forming in a legacy that had gone largely unchallenged. Whack 100 was essentially suggesting that Big Meech wasn't as loyal to the streets as many had believed. And that's where 50's entire snitch narrative took root. Whack didn't back down either. He went further, claiming that Tammy Cowan, someone close to Meech, may have had her own reasons for turning against him. Maybe she felt left behind after his arrest, or maybe she was frustrated with him trying to regain control of his life rights that had already been negotiated with 50 for the BMF series. That detail made the situation even more sensitive, hinting that this wasn't just about personal betrayal, it was about a business conflict gone wrong. And if any part of Whack's story was true, it would put Meech in a tough position, with someone from his inner circle potentially handing damaging information straight to his biggest rival. Whack even laid it out clearly, claiming that Tammy might have been feeding information directly to 50 all along. That statement alone caught fans off guard. If 50's shots were coming from someone inside Meech's own circle, then the real issue wasn't external. It was internal. The empire wasn't being torn down from the outside. It was decaying from within. Whether Wack was sharing real details or just stirring things up for attention, one thing became obvious. It gave 50 even more reason to keep the jokes going. And fans quickly jumped back in, bringing the memes and commentary with them. One of the biggest moments came when Big Meech appeared in public wearing Kanye West's iconic graduation jacket. At first glance, it looked like just another stylish outfit. But fans immediately picked up on the symbolism. Was Meech trying to show he'd moved past the street code? Or was he subtly mocking the snitch accusations that kept following him? That jacket wasn't just fashion, it was seen as a statement. People pointed out that it was from the same Kanye album that famously outsold 50's in their 2007 chart battle. Some laughed it off as coincidence, but others believed Meech wore it intentionally, as a quiet jab at a former ally who once supported him. Either way, it made an impact, because it seemed like Meech was referencing 50's biggest public loss, just to stir the conversation even further. But what truly stood out wasn't the jacket. It was 50's silence. Typically, Curtis Jackson is quick to react, reposting a photo, cracking a joke, or dropping a meme. This time, he said nothing. No post, no caption, not even a subtle jab. And that's exactly why people started speculating. Many believed 50 was staying quiet for a reason, holding back because he was preparing to respond in a much bigger way. Because when 50 passes on an easy shot, it usually means he's planning something heavier, and when that hit lands, it tends to make an impact. At this point, the message was clear. At this point, it's no longer just online trolling. 50 Cent seems locked in on Big Meech with a level of focus that feels personal. Most feuds die out after a few weeks. But in Meech's case, every move he makes triggers a new response. Some believe 50 feels genuinely betrayed. After all, he helped launch Lil Meech's career and gave him a major platform, only to see him align with Rick Ross, someone 50 has publicly clashed with for years. Others think it's bigger than that. For 50, it could be about control and reputation. He doesn't just aim to win, he wants to shut down anyone who challenges him. Letting this slide would look like weakness. And that's something 50 has never allowed. If this situation ever moves beyond social media and into a real boxing ring, it won't just be another celebrity event. It would be the final act in a conflict that's already gone too far. One man defending his legacy, the other trying to dismantle it, possibly just for show. And based on how things are unfolding, it doesn't feel like speculation anymore. The next move might already be in motion. So what do you think? Will Big Meech finally push back? Or is 50 about to close this chapter his way? Let us know in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this ongoing story from our side of the culture.